What's up, guys? Just want to make a quick video on the progress of my SC. So a lot has changed since the last video I made. I think the last video I made, the engine was actually on an engine stand. It was still being built. But at this point, the engine's done, actually. It's already installed in the car, as you can see. And actually, Sound Performance in Bensonville, God, I'm running into a bunch of shit. Sound Performance in Bensonville actually put the motor in the car. I didn't have time to do it last year, so I dropped that engine off for them to drop into the car, and they went ahead and have their way with it and got it to run and all that stuff. They pretty much did everything. They installed the motor, they installed the trans, they installed the diff, they rewired a bunch of shit for the ECU, they put the fuel pump in, they moved the battery into the trunk. And I think for this video I'll probably just talk about how much I spent with them. So with Sound, pretty much like I said, installing all those components, and this is a warning to all you SC guys, because I'd say if you're driving an SC, it's probably because you don't have super money. So you, instead of spending 80,000 bucks on some old 90s car, you spent, two, maybe sometimes less than two, two to maybe 15 to 20,000 on an SC instead. And that's what I actually did. Actually, I wanted to get a Super. I think every SC person says that, but I just couldn't justify the damn thing, man. There's actually a dealership out in Naperville. I can't remember what it's called, but they have like 4 or 5 Supers. And I was actually considering going out and buying I don't know what year it was, but let's just say it was a 4th gen Super, and I think it was a non-turbo, either automatic or 5-speed. I can't remember. I want to say it was like 50, 60 to 80. And I was going to do it, but I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to put money in this SC. This SC, if you recall, I bought this SC about a year and a half ago. I got this from a gentleman out, I think in Minnesota. I paid him $8,000 for this car. And this actually isn't the way the car looked before, when I bought it. So like I said, a lot has changed in the past couple months. I've had this car, past year or so. But it had a V160, and it had the twin turbo diff, the 6-speed diff as well. And the interior was present. It's ripped out now, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But I paid 8,000 bucks for the whole car. It had a turbo engine in it, and it had a lot of goodies. And I sold the goods off of it for about 4 to 5, and that brought the cost of the car down to 3. And at that point, I pulled the engine out of that car, and this isn't it. I pulled another engine out of another SC I had that I sold, and that was a GE VVTi, and that's actually the engine you see in front of you right now. This is a GE VVTi engine, but it has GTE valve covers on it. And actually Sound, I don't remember exactly what part they did, but they did cut a piece off the head and re-weld it so that it would match up with the valve covers. But yeah, this started out as a GE VVTi with roughly 110,000 miles on it. So anyways, back to the cost of Sound, putting all this shit in. So my bill came to 38,000 bucks. $38,000 to put an engine in a car, put a trans in, put a diff in, tune it, wire a bunch of shit. Now this car was probably a little bit of an exception, because this car used to be tracked by some engineer dude that had it before the guy that I bought it off of. And dude, he had it set up, I don't know, man. I have about 1,000 pages of notes on this car, of receipts and dynos and shit like that. This guy had like 30 gauges. I'm not even kidding, dude. I'm pretty sure it still has them, but it's got gauges in the glove box. It had like 4 or 5 gauges on like the center right there, and then it had like a gauge somewhere up here. It had gauges all over the place. So the wiring was a mess. Sound had to fix it. The airbag wiring was messed up, or it was not how I liked it, so Sound fixed that. And the trunk was also a disaster. Let's see if I can pop the trunk, actually. Now, some dude said to always film horizontal. I don't really know why. I guess it's better somehow. I'm not used to filming for YouTube and shit. But anyways, the battery's in the trunk, and it's kind of hard to see, actually. But there it is. So Sound put that in. But yeah, it came to $38,000, and I'm gonna be honest. I was actually thinking it would come to about 18 to 20. Now the good news is I had a lot of money on me at the time, and so I could afford that 38,000. But let me tell you, man, it was a shock when when Jennifer called me. And if you dealt with sound before, you know who Jennifer is. She's a nice lady though. When she called me and she gave me my first receipt, it came to $20,000 or so, or 18 or something like that. And I was like, holy shit. Like, and the car, like, I don't even think the car ran at that point. And I was already 20,000 in, and they're charging, I think, $150 an hour labor. And I get that, and, like I said, they do good work, but I think what needs to happen is, and I didn't need this, but maybe in the future, sound, when someone brings an SC in, I'm just saying, I know there's people with SCs that have lots of money. I would say the majority don't, though. I'm just saying, if they bring an SC to sound, or if you plan on bringing your SC to sound, you really got to think about it, because $20,000, like I said, to put an engine, like pretty much you just bring a shell in and you want them to put everything together. It's a lot of money for most people that have an SC. And like I said, I had a lot of money put back. I had about 50 put back for this project. And I did not expect to even spend half of it. So I threw them the 20,000, paid them the same day, no problem, no questions asked. And on we went. And I was talking, to people, and I'm like, yeah, I'm guessing it's going to be another 5 to 10 to get it to run. And the final bill came to another 18,000 or so. So like I said, all said and done, $38,000. Would I do it again? No, I wouldn't. I would definitely not do it again. And there's a couple reasons for it. The one main thing is that when I say they charge you for every single little thing, and this isn't a video against sound, I'm literally just trying to tell you what to expect. So no hard feelings to sound. I'm just saying this is my experience. I don't make $500,000 a year, so I'm just I'm letting you SC people know, other people like myself that don't have a ton of money, what to expect if you take your car to a performance shop and you're wanting them to do everything on it. They charge, so sound like I said, they charge me for everything. If they had to pick a nut off the ground and put it on the car, that was documented, and I was charged for it. And I'm just trying to give you a sense of how it went down. So they were charging me to drop the engine in to make sure it fit and stuff like that, and I get that. But I want to say that was like a couple $100. It took like a couple, I think they marked like 2 or 3 hours for that test fitment of engine and stuff like that. And there was a lot of things like that. So I didn't have a power steering reservoir, and I didn't have a catch can, and they installed these cool little boxes over here, for the power steering, and then one for like the catch can. This is my catch can to actually set up, and I like it. It's really neat. It fits in the car really good. It looks nice in the bay, high quality. But I want to say each one of those things, if I remember right, looking at the paperwork, they were over $1,000. And like I said, it's just like, I wasn't being called to give the okay for a couple things. They did a good job of calling me most of the time, but I think it was more like, do you want us to do this? Do you want us to do that? And I was like, yeah. And there really wasn't like a cost estimate given. Maybe that was my fault. Maybe I should have asked. I just didn't. When I saw these, if you were to say these were $1,000 to $1,600, I would say, holy shit. I don't want that. I'd rather have something else that's much cheaper. But like I said, if I had lots of money, I don't think I'd really give a shit. If I had, a $100,000 Supra, and I got inheritance from my parents, or if I made $150,000 to $200,000, no problem a year with not much obligation, I wouldn't care, about this stuff. And like I said, it's not a gripe. I'm literally just letting you know, like, this is what you should expect. Because I saw other SCs there, and maybe they were going to get a lot of work done, but some of them didn't look too good. So I don't know, man. But if you do all the work yourself, because I've talked to people that have had work done by sound, if you do a lot of the work yourself, if you put the motor in and you get everything set up the way that you want it, and you say, hey, I just want you to tune the car, I want you to do this, sound will probably go through it, and they'll make sure that everything's good on your car, and they'll put it on the dyno and get you tuned, and you'd probably be out maybe $1,000, maybe $1,500. I think a lot of the people I talk to, usually they're in, even when they do all the work themselves, they're usually in about 5 to 15 to 20,000 actually. So that's just what to expect, because they're going to find things, that you should probably fix, or maybe they think, oh, you should do this or you should do that, and they'll recommend that those upgrades to you. But anyways, as far as the work that they've done, now I'm going to be honest, this is where I give Sound some credit. And of course, like I said, I appreciate all the work that they did. I literally, when I bring this car to them, it was a mess. Like I said, the wiring was a disaster. I literally bring them a box of bolts. I I did not have time to deal with the car, and I bring them a bunch. I bring them all the parts, and I bring them, like I said, like a huge box. It probably looked like this. It was just a big box of bolts, baggies of bolts, shit like that. Oh yeah, I think this is all the wires they tore out of the car. I think this is the shit they tore out of the dash. So you can see what the trouble they went through having to deal with this fucking car, dude. It was stupid, and I feel bad. But I definitely paid them well, so I think it was a fair transaction. But yeah, the work's pretty good. The work is good. They did some phenomenal work putting everything together. They've done things I didn't myself think about doing, and that's cool. You can see the pipes, really good, high quality welds. They made me a custom downpipe and stuff. Pretty nice. And like I said, I got the car back, and it ran pretty good. This engine's a little. I had a problem with the head, man. I think whoever built this head for me, I can't remember the shop's name. It wasn't Sound. It was I make that clear. It was not Sound that built the head. It was a machine shop, I think in Belford Park, I think's the name of that place. Some old dude freaking ran that machine shop out there, and he definitely did not seem like he built a lot of import engines. And I'll tell you right now, he did a great job on the short block, but I don't know, man. When I picked up this head, or no, I'm sorry, when I dropped this head off, to get worked on originally, I was very careful with the head, and this guy picked it up. Mind you, it's an aluminum head. He's picking this head up. He's slamming it on the like, I don't even know, iron table that he had, or whatever the hell it was made out of, like this hard ass table. And he's flipping the head around and dropping it, and I'm like, okay, like I don't know what's going on right now. Anyways, they bored the block out for me and got it all ready and cleaned it up, and they did a good job on it. Like I said, usually I've heard stories about people finding little like beads in their blocks, like in the oil passages. But I checked the whole engine. There was no debris in the motor. Of course, there was some dust in the cylinders, but that's to be expected. The head was in good shape. But I did notice when I was looking at the head that there was some marks in the head, some gouge marks in that cylinder head. And I feel it was literally from them throwing the goddamn head around. And I don't know why they did that. I don't know, man. I don't know if they're just used to dealing with cast iron heads or what. But, when I got my head back, I was kind of concerned about it. And, that's just kind of the way it went down. But anyways, I threw the engine together. I took it to Sound, and they got it on the dyno. They're like, hey, man, your head's making a lot of noise. And actually, I stopped by there one day, and I listened to them start this car, and the head was actually making a little bit of noise, too. And I didn't really know why. I'm like, I checked the valve flash. I checked the valve, the clearance between the lobe and the shim and all that. It seemed to check out, but I used assembly lube on the motor, and so maybe the figures I had, they were actually on the tighter end than what I expected. I'm sorry, they were on the tight end for me, but once the engine was ran, that lube disappeared. And if you actually properly checked the lash, I could see how it could be of excessive clearance. Sound noted they didn't get too specific on it, but they did check it, and they found that there was excessive clearance on a couple valves, or 8 of them, or something like that. So they fixed that. I guess they reshimmed it, and that got rid of a lot of noise. The top end of the engine is actually still just a tiny bit noisy, but it goes away once the engine's warmed up. So I actually don't know if it's top end or if it's the pistons or what. But anyways, it does run pretty good. The engine does run good. It's just a little bit noisier than what it probably should be. And this is my first built motor that I put together, and so things like that are to be expected. Hopefully I get better at it. But yeah, other than that, the only other problem I had, and it wasn't sound's fault, was I bought this stupid thing from Drift Motion. This little AC delete thing. Now, the belt they give you, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know how this makes sense, but it was too long. The belt was too long. And when the belt's too long, the tensioner's not under enough load, and so my tensioner was having contact with the power steering pulley, and it was chewing up the belt. So I went and bought, again, this was after I got the car back from Sound. I went and bought a shorter belt, and that gave me enough clearance between those two pulleys. And I don't blame Sound for that, because I didn't even notice it until like the next day. I kept hearing this noise, and that's when I discovered, like, man, the belt's getting frayed. Like, dang. I don't know why it didn't happen when Sound had it, but I went and picked up the car and I checked it out, and it was fine for at least a day. But like I said, the next day I went to run it, and it was making contact with that pulley, and the belt was getting shredded. So I put a new tensioner on it, a new shorter belt, and that resolved that. And I think that's really the only problem I've had with the car. The only other problem I've had with the car, actually, since I got it back from Sound, is it does not like starting in cold weather. Now, it's an E85 car, but I've had other E85 cars, and specifically a WRX, a 2011 WRX tuned by JR Jr. And it had no problem starting up in winter. I mean, dude, if I went out there in like 0 degrees, my E85 Subaru would start up instantly. This thing, however, will not start. It refuses to start if it's probably under 20 degrees. If it's 40 degrees, it'll take maybe 10 to 15 seconds to start, and I'm sure, I haven't experienced it yet, but once it gets to about 70, I bet it'll start up normally. But that's the only other problem I've had. So I'm going to end the video for that. Like I said, the main thing is, and I really hope it didn't sound like I'm talking bad about Sound. I really am not. I'm just saying that, bro, they're expensive, but they do good work. That's pretty much I would say that's kind of the summary of Sound, or any performance shop, rather. They do good work, and they do things that you probably are too lazy to do, but you're going to pay for it. And like I said, I spent $38 with them. So I'm going to make another video, and we'll close this one out. And I think the next video I'm going to talk about the car itself and what I plan on doing with it.